I'm excited to start looking at graphs as a way to see the numbers that are around us in the world. So in this case, I just want to remind you that proportions must relate 0 to 0. So for a relationship between two quantities to be proportional, we need to be sure that they relate 0 to 0. So in this case, if I've used no gas, it means that I've driven no miles, and that's a good thing. That means that we are good to go using the strategies that we know about ratios and proportional relationships. So here, if I want to know how many miles can I get per 1 gallon, I'm thinking about the unit rate. And in particular, I'm thinking about the unit rate when the independent variable is 1. Looking at this graph, we have information about 4 miles to 4 gallons to 150 miles. So what I need to think about is, how can I get the unit rate from that information? Well, I know that 150 miles per 4 gallons, I can set up a proportion where I'm missing the number of miles. So how can I isolate the question mark or the variable? I know dividing by 1 is the identity, so I'm just going to erase it. I'm also going to erase the other units of measure so I can clear up my space a little bit. 150 divided by 4. What is that? Well, I know that I can cut these both in half. So 75 divided by 2, what does that give me? That gets me closer. Well, 70 divided by 2 is easy, and 5 divided by 2 is easier for me to think about. So that leaves me with 35 plus 2.5. So my unit rate here is 37.5 miles per 1 gallon. This is also called the constant of proportionality. Or the constant of variation. These are considered to directly vary with each other, to be direct, they have direct variation. And when you think about it like that, it just means that they're proportional, that they start at 0, 0, and they move up and over at the same rate. They have a unit rate that remains the same throughout the whole. No matter how many gallons of gas you use, it's always going to be 37.5 miles. This means that at the coordinate point 1 for x, the y value is going to be 37.5. And that no matter where you are on the line, if you go over 1, you're going up 37.5. Over 1, up 37.5. And when you get into algebra, that's called slope. So in one exercise, we saw the same number, the same thing we all wanted to talk about, but described 4 different ways. As a unit rate, a constant of proportionality, a constant of variation, and slope, and a rate of change. So on top of all the math you need to sort out in your head, you need to recognize that sometimes one concept could be described in many ways. For example, here, we use the same number for 5 different sort of vocab words. So be on the lookout for those words relating to unit rate.